This video has been classified as M. It is recommended for people aged 15 years and over.
What Angus Houston's panel of experts want to do.
Since when did the Australian Defence Force write the book on dealing with immigration? Welcome to Media Watch, I'm Bradley Murphy. The expert panel on asylum seekers handed down their findings on the 13th of August last year, but yet the question still remains, did the government get their personnel right? You only have to look at the head of the panel, former head of the Defence Force Angus Houston, to wonder whether the government got their people right. Maybe someone like Philip Ruddock, our longest serving Minister for Immigration and Citizenship, would have been more suitable. And now to another story concerning asylum seekers, boat people, refugees, or whatever you want to call them. Ray Hadley has gotten himself into some hot water recently over these comments made on 2GB's The Ray Hadley Morning Show on the 27th of February of this year.
How many of the people who've arrived here illegally since 2007 have been charged with crimes, and I'm talking about sexual assaults, aggravated robbery, any indictable offence? And if they're charged and convicted, are they sent home?
According to the Department of Immigration, just 5 of more than 12,000 asylum seekers have been charged with any such offence since November 2011. And then Hadley gave us this little gem the very next day on his show concerning comments made by Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young.
She lives in another state, but does she understand that a woman, a 20-year-old woman, in the sanctuary of her own apartment in university accommodation has been allegedly indecent assaulted by someone holding a bridging visa?
Is Ray suggesting that asylum seekers that arrive here on bridging visas should be treated differently in our legal system than those born in Australia? Or is this just Hadley's loose tongue getting him into trouble again? It seems that asylum seekers have been all over the media recently, and in all forms. Paul Westmore, the president of the National Civic Council, had this to say in his weekly article for independent opinion magazine Newsweek.
It would be a mistake to blame this on people smugglers alone. Many asylum seekers already have relatives in Australia, and without the documents, and also the apparently encouraged by those who previously arrived by boat and gained the refugee status.
How does Westmore know that a large percentage of asylum seekers have relatives living in Australia? And does he know that some asylum seekers can remain in detention for up to 4 years with no means of communication from the outside world? Maybe Westmore should spend a night or two in Villawood Detention Centre to experience it for himself. Thankfully for us, Channel 7's David Koch has tried to clear up some common misconceptions about asylum seekers in his blog posted on the 14th of July 2012, with points such as:
First of all, refugees are not illegal immigrants. It has never been illegal in Australia to arrive on shore without a visa seeking asylum. In fact, it's one of the rights within the UN's declarations on refugees which Australia helped write.
And this one.
When an asylum seeker arrives in Australia, they do not get any Centrelink benefits. While their status is being processed, and if they meet certain criteria, they can be eligible for financial support from the Asylum Seeker Assistance Scheme, administered through the Red Cross. This amount is 89% of the basic Centrelink allowance. This means approximately $405.84 per fortnight, over $260 less than a pensioner.
And asylum seekers haven't just endured hardship in trying to get to Australia. They've also had to survive their stays in detention centres, sometimes not without physical harm.
However, Professor Bensall claims Australia is not only breaking international law by keeping genuine refugees locked up indefinitely, but is also flouting a guarantee made by the UN to keep them safe. That is because one of those refugees, a brain-damaged torture survivor, was allegedly assaulted by guards inside Sydney's Villawood Detention Centre.
That story was broken by Kerry Brewster on ABC's Late Line program on the 27th of October 2012. So not only does Australia not know how to process asylum seekers, they also don't know how to take care of them. And it seems that the Sydney Morning Herald agrees. In an opinion piece written by a currently unknown author in the November 24, 2012 edition of the publication, it outlines what the real problem is.
Australia doesn't have an asylum seeker problem. Australia has a political leadership problem.
Many Australians, such as the Leader of the Opposition, Tony Abbott, don't have a clear knowledge of what Australia is actually required by law to do.
Not only is it not illegal to seek asylum after arriving without papers, Australia, as a signatory to the UN Convention relating to the status of refugees, has an obligation to accept asylum seekers.
And another one.
Another of Mr. Abbott's disingenuous positions is that asylum seekers who arrive by boat are queue jumpers.
If Tony is sure of asylum seekers that arrive by boat being queue jumpers, maybe he should take a look at the amount of asylum seekers waiting in detention for a visa. The expert panel on asylum seekers, as previously mentioned, handed down their findings in August of last year. And Angus Houston's solution to our asylum seeker problem was not surprising.
What Angus Houston's panel of experts want to do is bring back offshore processing.
What we're recommending is that Nauru and Manus proceed as quickly as possible.
As seen here, Houston's proposed solution is offshore processing taking place in Manus and Nauru. Unfortunately, many of the Australian public are unaware as to what offshore processing actually involves, other than the Australian government washing their hands clean of asylum seekers. Thankfully, the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre is here to clear up some common myths.
Myth. Nauru worked in the past and would be a more humane offshore processing option. Fact. Around 1,500 asylum seekers were processed on Nauru under the previous government's Pacific solution. Many of those previously detained on Nauru suffered serious mental health issues as a result of a detention. A number were assessed at grave risk and were taken to Australia because of their deteriorating mental health.
And another one.
Myth. Australia needs to protect our borders from asylum seekers. Fact. No border rivals who have been a potential threat to national security have ever gained entry into Australia. Border rivals are subjected to the most vigorous security checks and of all arrivals into Australia.
And just one more that may help some people.
Myth. Strong offshore processing policy reduces people smuggling. Fact. The Australian government has in fact contributed to the creation of people smuggling by restricting the legal avenues of asylum seekers to find protection in Australia.
It is not our job here at Media Watch to give our opinions, but we do wonder how long it will take the Australian government to get it right. Until next week, good night.